Hello everybody, welcome to our day early comic review video. I'm Jason,
I'm Andy.
and we're with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. So every Tuesday, and last week we actually did it on Monday. I wish we could do that every week. But every Tuesday, after we bag and board all the comics that have arrived, we grab up the ones that we think most people are going to want to hear the most about, and we divide them, we read them, and we do what we call our spoiler light reviews, where we will tell you some of the important things, like if there's a major first appearance, that's why you want to grab the book, a major death, but we try not to spoil everything. In particular, we're going to tell you what the books are about. We're going to give you a lot more details than if you just read the little snippet of the solicitation on it. But we're going to leave all the like really cool parts out that if you read it for yourself, you can still have an enjoyable time. So let me start by saying this is a big week. If you watch our show regularly, you probably know we usually have it up by now.
Yeah.
We're at least a half hour behind schedule because just tons of books this week. But that's my favorite kind.
Yep.
So you can already see a lot of the ones we're going to go over in front of us. We have
All number
tons.
ones. All number ones across here too.
You are right. I did not notice
Yeah.
that.
And more
Yeah.
number ones to the side.
To the side, yeah. So we're also going to show the variants. We're going to show incentive variants. So just buckle in. We got a lot of cool stuff to go over. I'm very excited about. So Andy, what are you going to start with?
I'm going to start with something that I think people have been really excited about. It's been a while since he's had his own book. This is Punisher #1. So, brand new Punisher book by Jason Aaron, who
I'm
wrote.
shocked that he has his regular symbol on this
Yeah,
cover.
well, you may learn a bit about that. This is by Jason Aaron, who worked on Punisher Max, one of the coolest runs of Punisher there's been, and the art is by Jesus Saez. So it has a very interesting look to it. It has a very, I don't know. It feels like one of the Max books that they used to do. It's not like super obscure art type, but it's definitely more of like a softer tone and everything. Very cinematic. So, what is this Punisher book about? We've seen a lot of things leading up to this. Most notably, his chest symbol.
Right.
And if you've read some of the stuff, the solicitations or any of that, you kind of have an idea of why it changes. But in this issue, Jason Aaron does a fantastic job, very cinematic, setting up the Punisher. There's a kind of narration in the beginning about the origin of the Punisher, but done very abstractly. You're not seeing anything straightforward, but you can figure it out, and you turn the page, and there's just a cool collage of some of the most iconic Punisher covers, and it kind of introduces us into this new era of the Punisher. Now, that would be my biggest thing I even made a note about. This is not any kind of retconning or changing of the Punisher in this. I feel like this is an evolution of the Punisher. This is his next thing. So in it, you have the group, The Hand. You may know from such things as Daredevil, a very big Daredevil, a group of ninja villains who are kind of obsessed with being what they are. You know, they are hired killers. But they're really good at what they do. Well, people who are that good are going to take notice of someone who is also very good at killing, like the Punisher. So we pick up on Punisher hunting down a new group of villains called the Apostles, and they all wear like Trojan helmets and stuff, and they bless all of their weaponry and stuff. It's a very interesting, very comic booky setup. But of course, the Punisher makes his appearance with the new symbol. So that's not spoiling it because we get a flashback to kind of the setup of how we got here. And I think the most interesting thing about this is I didn't quite consider it when I was starting in on it, but why would the Punisher do this? He's pretty much a loner. He's a guy who's not really joined the Avengers or any team, maybe some versions of the Defenders, but he's not a team player. So what is the reason why he would join this group? Also a group that doesn't really use guns. They're sword people. Um, that is I feel like the crux of this. That is the big, the spoiler, the MacGuffin in this is what is the thing that draws Punisher to joining this? Well, the Hand kind of has an offer he can't refuse. I feel like every episode we talk about somebody makes somebody an offer they can't refuse. But this one, if you know Punisher, is something that you go, absolutely, this is something that has defined his entire career uh, as a bargaining chip to join the Hand. So, really great issue. Jason Aaron writes Punisher so good. Just as super violent as you would imagine a Punisher book is. Nothing is toned down. This is definitely a mature reader's book, as Punisher tends to be. But I'm very excited to see where this goes. It's a great setup issue, but still with plenty of action, plenty of Punisher using everything at his disposal to dispatch his enemies. Really, really good. So that is Punisher #1. And of course, it's a Marvel #1. We got a bunch of variants. Now, I'm going to warn you, this is a spoiler variant. It's so spoilery that it's also on the other cover because it's just his chest symbol. And they call this a spoiler variant, but then they should call all the other ones spoiler variants because they all have this.
So the first appearance of his symbol, that was on, I think, was it the Timeless second print?
Yes. That was the first cover appearance, and then he actually appeared wearing that at the end of the last issue of Daredevil Woman Without Fear.
That's right.
So he has appeared in this suit just last week, but still fresh and new. So we have the this is the Sue variant. Once again, with that spoilery symbol, we have the Sousa variant. We have feels like it's 2 years ago talking about this, it's the Alex Ross Timeless variant. If you thought your Timeless variant collection was done, it is not. You've got the Punisher to add to it.
I don't know if they've announced any others, though.
I don't know. I almost wonder if maybe that was done for a previous Punisher series and then they moved it over. I don't know. It's very odd.
Ross can probably just do what he wants. He's
That's
probably
true.
Just like, you want me to do another Timeless? I like the Punisher.
I was about to say he was on a roll. And then we have the Parlov variant. And then we have some really cool incentives. We have the Bartel variant that we're selling for $35 to our customers. This is a 1 in 50. Then we have this one, which I feel like they announced pretty early. This is the 1 in 25 Romita Jr. variant that we are selling for $25.
I am looking forward to reading that later because I want to see why he changes the symbol. You know, that's all. Everybody who's come in the store who's been talking to us about Punisher is like, why is he changing the symbol? Why is he changing the symbol? And you know, I'm waiting to see that too.
The Hand basically have something, and after they have this thing, they can be like, Punisher, go do this. And he's like, okay. Like, it's a big thing, so you'll have to read it.
I have some ideas, but now I have some new ideas based on that. Okay, so I'm starting with the Marvel as well. Captain Carter #1 is out. This is the first appearance of Captain Carter in comics.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously we've seen Captain Carter the What If show, but first appearance in comics. This is going to be a 5-issue miniseries. I like to announce that info because, man, sometimes it's hard to know what's ongoing, what's one shot, what's a 3-issue. So this is a 5-issue miniseries. I really enjoyed the first issue. As far as what it's about, it is set where, sort of like with Captain America, they have just discovered that Captain Carter has been frozen in ice all these years. Now, this is more modern than when Captain America got unfrozen. This is more like modern day. They've discovered that this, super soldier, who was Margaret Peggy Carter, had been frozen all this time through World War II, and they thaw her out. And, of course, because of the super soldier serum, she is totally fine. She's okay. It's kept her alive. But unlike Captain America, she's British.
Yeah.
So a lot more, in a vein, she's a bit more like a Captain Britain in that way.
Yeah.
And so much so that there is at least one member of the Braddock family in this.
Seems
So,
appropriate.
yeah, very very appropriate. I won't say which one or in what capacity, but there is a Braddock family member in this. This is very much a fish out of water tale, and you got to do that with these characters who've been away for a long time. This is a character building issue. It doesn't come out the gate with tons of action. There is a bit of action because when they unfreeze her, she still thinks she's fighting Hydra for a minute.
Yeah.
So, but past that, this is really what's it like for this character to be thrust, 70, 80 years into the future. And it's interesting. I like that they don't gloss over that. How does she feel about modern music? One thing I'll say is she decides she likes modern food better than older food because of just all the different ethnicity of food that you can get nowadays. In fact, there's a panel, and you can interpret it how you want, but it looks to me like she doesn't know how to eat a taco yet. She's about to eat the taco, but it's like, that's not
incoming. How does this? Do I turn it?
There you go. So, and I really think the artist meant it as a funny moment. It worked for me at least. The crux of this issue is she's unfrozen. She's out of time. You get to meet some of her neighbors. You get to see how she's fitting in. But she is told by the British agency that superheroes are on the rise. They're big everywhere. Unfortunately, most of them are American, so they see her as this big opportunity.
Yeah.
And towards the end of the issue, I'm like, okay, well, I see there's a lot of moving components here, but who's the villain?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Hydra's still around. That's who the villain is. And by the end of the issue, they do something pretty shocking to get her attention. And that is sort of, in a nutshell, some of the things going on in issue 1. But I think my favorite parts really were the person at a time parts.
Yeah.
I like that. So that is my quick little review of Captain Carter #1. We got some cool variants here. We have the Pacelli Women's History variant with Captain, what does it say? Captain Carter as suffragette. That's what it says. With a different outfit there. Then we have this Jem Bartel Carnageized variant. I really like this one. The more you see it, it looks great in person. Then we have a Infinity Saga variant. Marvel's been doing a series of these ones based through Infinity Saga movies. You'll see a couple more of these throughout our show today. And then, of course, we got the Todd Knock variant. And it's judging you.
She doesn't want any of your sass.
Yep.
See,
and
no, I was just gonna say it's funny because some people may be like, "Oh, well, her first appearance is way back in Exiles," but that's when she was Captain America, correct? She wasn't the current version of Agent Carter.
Yep.
This is a different character.
She is Captain Carter. Yes. And then here is the 1 in 10 McKelvey design variant that we're selling to our customers for $15.
It's a great design, too. It's
it
very
is
modern, but it's still very reminiscent of Captain America.
Yep.
Okay, my next one is one that surprised me when I found out was an ongoing series, but after reading the first issue, I'm very excited to see where it goes. This is Star Wars Han Solo and Chewbacca. So, yes, we have our next ongoing Star Wars series with Han Solo and Chewbacca. This takes place after Solo, the movie, but before A New Hope. So this is kind of the heyday of Han being a scoundrel, doing jobs for Jabba. He has a lot of his connections that later, but these are the early days. Because in this, for one, we start out with Han doing a kind of a smuggling run that it's a good character building, getting you into the thing of he has somebody yelling at him that was one of his partners, like, "You left us here." He's like, "No, I just had some ship trouble. I'll be back around to pick you up." It's a last minute save. It's a great kind of opener for this. But then it goes into Jabba, who he's been doing these jobs for, has a very big job for him. And Han says, no, I don't want to do it. I'm just going to take some time off. I've got to get my ship fixed. And he's like, "This will pay for your ship getting fixed." But the job pays 1 million credits, which in Star Wars money is still a lot. A million is a million. But you have to split it with the guy who got me the info for this, and that's Greedo. So if you know Han ends up being the one who kills Greedo later on. So this sets up a really fun dynamic of, you know what's going to happen, but you see this early stages of kind of their rivalry and what each of them represent. A big thing about this is Han does go back to Corellia, his home planet, where we saw in Solo. There's a lot of kind of nods to things that happen there and characters, but there is I won't I won't spoil it, but there is a pretty big possible, there is a first appearance, but if the person is who they say they are, it's a bigger first appearance. That I'm sure some people will be talking about. It's funny, even in some of our um, groups that we're in that talk about the spoilers and comics, that we kind of check to make sure we didn't miss anything. They did not have this first appearance listed. We'll see in the next issue if this all plays out, but it is a great kind of twist on this first issue. There is also a first appearance of someone that Han was doing a job with named Kel Tana, which is a cool another kind of smuggler character, and a new antagonist for Han, which this is written by Mark Guggenheim, who has worked in TV and everything, a big name. It's not a spoiler because he actually did an interview talking about this character, but it is a character named let's see, it's Marshall Buck Vancto, and it's kind of this new. He's basically a bounty hunter, but for the law, that's going to be going after Han. So really great first issue. I thought it was a lot of fun. It definitely captures the kind of spirit of flying by the seat of their pants, Han and Chewie, just barely making out of things unscathed. That I think a lot of people will really like. So a lot of first appearances in this, and just a lot of fun. Here's our A cover, very cinematic movie looking. We have a Shalvey variant, another really cool one. And then we got a big one. This is the 1 in 50 Adam Hughes variant that we're selling to our customers for $60. So if you're a big Adam Hughes collector, you don't want to miss this one.
So yeah, the other first appearance, the one that is not mentioned anywhere, the one you're like, hey, this could be something. It's basically somebody claiming they're somebody who, if they are who they say they are,
Yes.
It's a really big deal. It's just not confirmed.
Right. So I feel like places aren't. Places will mention that it is possible.
Right.
But I'm guessing we'll find out in future issues.
Okay. Cool. Okay, so I read Trial of the Amazons, #1 of 2. So this is a 2-part series, but it also runs through other books in a way. For instance, also out this week is Nubia #6, which follows this one. So if you're picking up this and Nubia this week, you want to read this one first, Nubia second. So the Trial of the Amazons, #1. This is, first off, I'm going to say there is a fairly major death of a Wonder Woman-based character in this book. And it happens at the end, and it left me going, wow, are they really dead? Well, when you read Nubia, you discover, yes, they are dead. Like, you're now at a funeral. So they're dead. So I will not say who, but it is a fairly major Wonder Woman character that dies in this book, and then the funeral's in Nubia. So, Yara Floor's book is over, but she just had her book.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have Nubia's book, which is ending this week. And then we have, of course, the Wonder Woman book. And they are all colliding in this Trial of the Amazons. I mean, all these characters are in this one, which I can see why they had its own thing. Because Nubia's book has to have more to do with her end of it. And Yara's, which had some stuff in it before it ended, the same. This really is, they're splitting the time. So we've got the 3 different Amazon tribes now. We have the Themyscirians, we have the Bana Migdal, and now we have a new tribe, which is Yara Floor's tribe, which is the Escasita tribe. And they are all coming together for this trial to determine who is going to be the champion to protect them against Doom's doorway and whatever terrible thing is possibly could come through it. But when you read this, So they're supposed to figure out who a champion is, which to me that's enough of a hook. I just want to see them all send their best.
Yeah.
Who's going to be the best? Who's going to be the champion? But let's just say by the end of this, the stakes get risen even higher. That this is going to determine not just who the champion is, but something more on top of that. That's really going to have an effect on all three tribes and the Wonder Woman books continuing on. Now, what is the trial? We don't really learn what it is in this one, but when I get to Nubia in a second, we do learn a few more things. Um, you this one you get the rules of the trial. They're like there aren't a lot of rules, but here they are. So you do get the rules of the trial in this one. I'm going to get to the Nubia book next though. So let me show you some variants from Trial of the Amazons #1. So here is the Rose Bash variant. And then here is the 1 in 25 Albuquerque variant that we are selling to our customers for $15. And I'll tell you, this was not a quick read. There is a lot of things going on, a lot of dialogue, a lot of plot.
I think a few different artists too, like the different artists from the different series.
Quite a bit of different artists were in it. The part where Yara Flor comes in, like wasn't able to confirm this, but it really seemed like it was
Joel Jones.
Joel Jones, yeah. I mean, the minute I turned that page, I'm like, oh, this is that Yara Flor art.
Yeah.
But it might have been somebody else just really trying to keep it that speed. So let me continue on. I want to talk about Nubia because these books are practically connected this week. So this is the next part. This is her final issue of her miniseries, but this is next part of Trial of the Amazons. As I said, it starts with a funeral of the major character who died last issue. And by the end of it, and I was waiting for this. I'm glad when writers are smart enough to do this. So somebody has been killed. Who's done it? Who's done it? Well, by the end of this issue, you don't get to see this yet, but Wonder Woman's like, I might have a way to find out the truth. And it's like, finally, I can't wait to see you with this ability you might have to figure out who might be lying.
Everyone get in line.
Yeah. So that's going to happen next issue. That's like towards the end of this one, but I was happy to see that. So past that, you get a bit more on what skills the trial tests for. So now it's like, okay, well, we know the rules from last issue. Now here's the different skills they're going to test. But the trials themselves, they come from like them praying to the gods. That hasn't happened. I don't think we're going to see it till they're going through the trials. So that's mostly what you need to know about Nubia #6. So past that, we have this Baker variant. Very dark but neat variant. And then we have this NECA variant for International Women's Day, which today is actually Women's Day.
Yeah, it's good that it fell on a release day.
On a release day that DC had particular covers for, and I think this cover is really great. So that's it.
Awesome. My next one is another #1 of a new mini series. This is Radiant Red #1. Been waiting on this one. Another entry into the Radiant verse, following a character that we've gotten a little of in the regular Radiant Black series, Radiant Red, who her name is Satomi Son, and she was kind of one of the first possible villains in Radiant Black, at least someone that Radiant Black kind of went head to head with until, they realized it was a misunderstanding and everything. But I feel like Satomi is a pretty complex character. She is a teacher, she is an aunt, she's a wife, but she's kind of like people who do get, who would get power like this. Suddenly the possibilities are endless, and it's like, well, we are really struggling for money. I could maybe rob a bank and get some money or something like that. She's definitely trying to balance this power with, she's actually a good person, but she sees opportunities to help people. She has a sister who's about to travel abroad after she broke up with her boyfriend and needs money. It's one of those like, well, maybe I could do good, but I'm just going to do a little bit of bad. So this is definitely a setup issue for Radiant Red. There is someone, though, of course, in this Radiant verse that takes notice of these actions and maybe calls her out on it and says, hey, Red. Uh, and she kind of has an idea, and they say, we've got a job for you. They seem like pretty sketchy people, but they may have some dirt on her that will drive her to work for them. So we'll have to see. This is definitely just a setup, getting you more familiar with the character that we've previously met, but getting a little bit more of her personal life and her family and all of that. Really fun issue. I'm glad to see this Radiant verse expand even further, and this is a great addition to that. So this is the A cover. Then we have the Whalen variant. And a blank sketch cover. Then finally, this one's really nice. This is the Mi Gyong 1 in 25 variant that we are selling to our customers for $25.
All right, so my next one, I had to take it out of the sleeve. It is We Live Age of Palladions. So I have not actually looked up a Miranda Brothers interview to hear how they want this pronounced, but I'm pretty sure it's Palladions. That's the way I read it. I don't know why they would, have it written that way otherwise. So it's sort of like, the word paladin.
Yeah.
But just a little bit different, which is cool because, this world is different. And it just gives a word that can stand out. So I was really impressed by this. So the first thing I have to show is that this is a fold-out cover. So the interior folds out, but look at that. Really good cardstock, beautiful art of the characters. Okay, so there is...
I feel like you have to talk about these as one whole.
Number 1 black and number 1 white. They do some really awesome things here. I mean, this is indie comics at its best. So first off, you got the cool fold-out covers. Then secondly, these are 2 different stories that connect. The one story in black is about the Palladions and what they're up to. This one in white is about the humans and the human resistance and what's going on with them, the people that the Palladions work with. So they have launched a series with 2 number 1s that are different. So this is not 2 different covers. This is a completely different comic than the other one, except that they're both set in the same world, same time period, and it's 2 different groups that work together against, all these terrible creatures that are trying to destroy the world. So that's the first thing. So that's 2 things that make this awesome to me. The fold out cover, the fact that they're doing 2 number 1s. Number 2 won't be that way. It's bridging into just 2, 3, 4, 5. But the last thing is they have QV codes that you can scan with your phone at a certain point in the comic. It's like a splash page, and it takes you to a YouTube video with original music that I thought was really good. It's atmospheric original music, and they take the page it's on, and it's like lightly animated. So one of them is like soldiers, and they're marching through this post-apocalyptic world. And so I went to the YouTube video, which had only had 49 views at that point. They had put it up 2 hours ago when I watched it. Today. I mean, they launched it today.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, that page I'm looking at, it's the soldiers, and they're marching across, and it looks great. And the music is really good. It really adds to the atmosphere. So, I mean, all that just won me over. I'm like, this is incredible. They all set this up, and it's all such high quality work. The art of this is great. So I've not even talked about the story much. I'm more talking about all the things you get with this comic. So I would read black personally before white. It really doesn't matter which one you read. But black actually follows the Palladions. And when I see that in the title, that's what I want to see.
Yeah.
Sure, the human resistance story of white is really good too, but I'm here for the Palladions.
Yeah.
So you get to see them, and of course, they are led by 2 of the kids from the original We Live series. They're all grown up now. It is Taylor and Hototo. And you get to see most of the other Palladions this time. They do one page where it's like there's 10 of them, and they feature 5 of them. They tell you their name, they tell you their sort of what they go by. And there's a lot of action in this. A lot of really creative sci-fi, a lot of great character and monster design, and you see as they fight to try to protect the world. So that's a lot of what is in this one. In the white one, we're with the human resistance, who they're relying on the Palladions to come back and try to help, but they are also doing their best to fight the creatures. This is set in 2090, so this is our world, but set in 2090. For anybody who didn't read the original series, it's okay because this has gone forward a lot. This is a perfect jumping in point. But I will say, it's quite a bit of a read. The art is fantastic, but this is written like a TV show, but in the best possible way. Like, I totally see this as like an animated TV show. I really do. But it doesn't detract from the comic. Sometimes when a comic's written that way, it's not as good.
Yeah.
This one, it took me maybe 3 times as long to get through this book as your average comic because so many things were going on, and I hung on every word to see what new thing was going to happen. So let me look at my notes, see if I've left anything out. So yeah, in this one, Megalopolis 9 is the city they live in, and they have a shield over it. And when the enemies attack enough, the shield, loses power, and they've got in. I think 4 times, but the shield is holding, and they're trying desperately to keep the things out while fighting them. They have their own forces that fight them, and they're waiting for the Palladions to come back. So much more to these. I could go on and on and on, but these are very, very cool. I'm super impressed. The Miranda brothers, just talent oozing out of them. I hope this does well, and I hope it gets, turned into even more. Because this is a mini series also. I'm not sure how many issues. Probably 6. That tends to be what Aftershock does.
Yeah.
So let me show you some variants. So this is the mask variant to the We Live Age of the Palladions black #1. It's like a little cutout mask where you can have one of the Palladian masks.
Very small. Then, you got a very small head.
White. It's the same thing. I guess you're right. And then for black, here's the 1 in 15 Wen variant. We're selling to our customers for $20. That is one of the Palladions right there. And then here is the white #1 Wando variant that we are selling for, was it $20? I got to clip it there. I could talk more about these.
Yeah, it's a very interesting, very ambitious.
Really ambitious.
Thing that I feel like only indie comics with complete control can do.
The Miranda brothers are pouring everything into this.
Yeah.
And I just got to hats off to them on that.
Okay, my next one is another big one. It was hard to pick which ones to start with this week because we also have SpiderGwen or Ghost Spider Gwenverse #1. I think it's SpiderGwen. Man, they want us to call her Ghost Spider, and then they keep using SpiderGwen.
Yeah.
So, yes, this is Gwenverse #1. Too many universes. This one is wild. This is written by Tim Seeley. If you know Tim Seeley, really funny guy, really great writer, very creative, and this one is no exception. Even though it is a big Marvel book, it is not short on the weirdness. So, what is Gwenverse about? It starts off pretty normal with Gwen Stacy. She is in her universe, where in her universe, people know that Gwen Stacy is Ghost Spider. That's just a known thing. So much so that she goes into a convenience store and it's getting robbed, and people look at her like, "Are you going to do something about it?" And so that it kind of makes it hard for her. And she does go back and forth between the regular Marvel universe and hers. But she decides, I need some time away from my universe because it's getting annoying how much people are relying on her, but then they like blame her for stuff if she doesn't take care of the villain right. At the same time, we jump into the far future where a character named Finale is in a giant arena, and Finale is the final artist. She is the artist to end all artists, and she's about to unveil her final art piece that's just going to be, this is it. This is art. Um,
She finished art.
she finished art, and let's just say, I won't say what it is. The final art piece is a meme. And it's a recognizable meme. It might have to do with a cat sitting behind a table meowing ferociously as a woman points at it. And it's just like you see it and you're like, I guess it's all right. But, in this world, this is the ultimate art piece. That's kind of the humor you get in this. It's a little outrageous. It's weird. It's over the top. But this artist Finale says, don't worry, like, I have a plan that I'm still going to do more art. Even though this universe is coming to a close, I'm going to travel back and become a member of, like, the Avengers, and I'm going to become the ultimate meme. Which, I don't really know what her idea, if she's going to go do, like, funny points at different Avengers characters or whatever. But she gathers. This is all within the first few pages, and this is an exercise issue. So I was saying this was hard, not hard to get into, but like, whoa, I've got to like slow down here. She gathers a team that is the Terminal Six. It's a very Sinister Six like, but they each have like a piece. Like one is a piece from a Kang thing. They're all different kind of portal dimensional items. So she can go back in time. But one person forgot theirs. So when she jumps through, at the same moment that Gwen Stacy's Spider-Gwen is going through, some things get jumbled up. And Ghost Spider is thrown through dimensions, meeting along the way, what was her name? Spider-Zero. Spider-Zero is a character we've seen in Spider-Verse. She's like a version of Spider-Woman that kind of exists between dimensions. And so she becomes like kind of the voice that Gwen is talking to as she gets pitched into her first universe. And that is just the first half of the book. I won't give away the second half. Just know she enters in a world with, as you can see on the cover, a different version of herself where things went a little odd. This may require me a second reading to fully understand how all this stuff works out. But by the end, when they kind of clarified some things, it's like, okay, I kind of get that their lines kind of got crossed and all of that. So, really fun book, oversized, but great Tim Seeley humor. And I'm really looking forward to all the different versions of Gwen we're going to get in this.
It sounds really wild and like it doesn't take itself too seriously.
Yeah, it doesn't take itself as seriously as, say, Spider-Verse, where you had the vampire creatures that were like feeding off of Spider-Man.
Venomverse was pretty serious too. I mean, they were just killing all the different Venom.
It feels like this is going to be a little bit lighter than that, although we haven't quite seen the major threat in it yet, but I'm sure that's coming. So here's our A cover that's by David Nakayama.
Meme-based threat.
Yes. I mean, this is so kind of the time, which is really funny. And we have a Bustos variant, this time with Night Gwen. Keep an eye out for Night Gwen, what role she may play in this. We have a Todd Knock Headshot variant, also looking kind of judgy. And we have a Greg Land. They call this an homage cover, but I feel like it's just homaging like that this was classic Gwen Stacy, because as these go forward, she's going to change her look to be the different versions.
So, it's a big week when I've already been through 3 different comics, and I'm just now getting to Venom and Thor and a Moon Knight book.
Yes.
But here we are. So I read Venom number 6. This is the beginning of a new arc. So the first 5 were an arc. This is the beginning of a new one, even though it's continuing based on things that have happened in the earlier arcs. This issue is written by Ram V, and by that, I can just go ahead and tell you that it doesn't have a lot of Eddie Brock in it. You know, last issue was very heavy Eddie Brock issue. We learned where he was in that just crazy King in Black world. So we're back seeing where Dylan's at. However, this also kind of sets up other characters that are going to be big in this arc. In fact, it begins with Senator Crane. So Senator Crane, he came from the Carnage series before, and we know he kind of has Carnage ties, even though he supposedly leads a task force against symbiotes. Really, it seems like he leads a task force that's just trying to kill Venom and other symbiotes like Venom, just not Carnage. Well, he has ties to this New Life Foundation, who has been a big force in this late Venom series. And we get to learn what they're up to, what's going on with them right now. Then we find out what's happening with Dylan. He's been taken in by this bar owner who's like an ex-Hell's Angel guy, which I didn't see coming at all. Like, this issue has a lot to do with biker factions fighting, like sort of Hell's Angel bikers. I was like, oh, okay. You know, you got to get some human element in there after an issue where, you know, Eddie Brock is with Meridius in the King in Black heaven or hell or wherever he's at. So, so Dylan's having to deal with biker people, some of which are maybe his friend and some of which are not. Lastly, you get the hint that that new villain, the really big one, Bedlam, that Bedlam is getting very close to finding Dylan. So, you know, no first appearance, no major death, nothing like that. This is definitely like a setup for where is everyone and what are they up to? How are they going to collide in this next arc? There is one really good part that I liked a lot where Venom now can exist, you know, sort of on his own, not as a symbiote. And Eddie even told Dylan, don't, you know, bond with him, even though they immediately did.
Yeah.
But Dylan and Venom have a talk about, I guess, their differences. And that's one of the best parts of the issue. You'll have to read it for yourself. But a lot of it is that Dylan wants to be more heroic than Venom's ever been. And Venom tells him what it's like when his host feels different than him and how it affects him and how, in turn, he might affect them. All that's pretty neat. And I'm really interested to see what sort of Venom they become. You know, now that it's not just going to happen, they're kind of talking it out a little bit. So that's a lot of the cool stuff that happens in Venom. Issue number 6, another excellent issue. Here is the Delgado variant.
We were laughing about this one.
Grabbing the tongue.
Grabbing his tongue.
Somebody has to do it eventually.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just always waggling that thing. And then we have, I like this one a lot, the 1 in 25 Simmons variant we're selling for $30. Nightmarish.
Okay, this is a big week because X Lives and X Deaths of Wolverine came out in the same week.
Both of them.
Those have been flip-flopping, so I had to read these and make sure I read them in the correct order. I mean, I feel like that's a thing that people need to be warned about beforehand.
Let me guess. I think it's X Deaths, then X Lives?
Wrong.
Ah! I'm glad you are here.
So X Lives comes first, even though it's not that big of a difference because they kind of are telling their own stories. I made sure to look at the reading order at the back of the book to I just want to read things the way they're intended.
Yeah, it can matter sometimes.
Yeah, it can. So I actually want to talk about, I know I've got X Deaths up here, but X Lives of Wolverine first. So X Lives of Wolverine, I thought was they were both really good, but I felt like the most meaty one. And this is the one that is actually following Wolverine as he's going through the different his different past lives, trying to protect Professor Xavier and the Xavier family from Omega Red, who has his own kind of version of time traveling, jumping into bodies that is going on kind of at another location. So they're kind of mind traveling, racing each other to try, and one's trying to protect, one's trying to stop. But now Omega Red is also like, well, if you're going to try to stop me, I'm going to go after you and your family and all of that as well. So this takes place in multiple timelines. We have one where Omega Red is trying to get one of Xavier's relatives that is on like a battleship, and so Wolverine is having to fly a plane in like this dogfight to protect him. We have the one that is uh, the kind of covert ops version we've seen a few times, where Wolverine and Sabretooth are out on a mission, and they've been kind of possessed by him. And then there's one that I think is really interesting that is during the Weapon X program, and Wolverine is still strapped to a table when he kind of takes over that mind as a doctor's working on him. But let's just say there is a thing that says, see um, Web of Venom, Venom #1. That was the Vietnam issue of Venom from way back pre King in Black. And we see the return of a very null character, which I think is really interesting that that event was so big, it's still having effects even to this. Now, is it a one-time thing or is it going to come back? I don't know, but it was very, like when I saw that, I was like, oh, whoa, like this is taking me back. Really cool issue. A lot of stuff is explained in this about, affecting the past and how that affects the current timeline, all of that. Really cool. I just think this series has been really, really fun. It's just fun to see all these different Wolverines fighting in all these different environments. That has been really cool. Now, the other book this week is X Deaths of Wolverine, that has been following this. I was following Myra McTaggart, and then this weird other version of Wolverine that has sprung out of a pod from the depths of Krakoa. Well, in this one, we get the origin story of that Wolverine. How did he come out of a pod? How is all of this related all the way back to House of Powers of 10? Way back at the beginning of this whole saga of X-Men years ago. And it's really connecting a lot of interesting dots to the point of like really feeling full circle. So another really good issue. Myra McTaggart is really messed up in this. Like really messed up as to the point of maybe wearing the skin of another mutant to bypass some security. You'll have to read it to find out. I'm wondering if that character can ever come back from this, or if they're going to be like, we're going to pull one from another reality that's just a nice lady.
That hasn't turned into Buffalo Bill.
Yeah. So, another great issue. I'm really excited to see where both of these will culminate. But it definitely feels like they're kind of pulling, in their own individual books, their characters together. Myra even has a discussion with some X-Men in this. So, really cool issue of X Deaths as well. We've got some variants. So we have the Bagley trading card variant for X Deaths, which is classic Wolverine. We have this one that is a Declan Shalvey variant that they keep calling these spoiler variants, but so far I've not seen any of these characters appear in the book. But this is real spiky Wolverine. You get a hint of what I was mentioning, even though it's in the opposite book. Here is the Bachalo X Deaths with some Venom on there. Looks like a big Venom whale. Then for X Deaths, we have this really nice 1 in 25 anime style Peach Momoko variant with Wolverine and X-23 and Scout that we are selling to our customers for $30. And then we have the X Lives issues. We have the Bagley trading card just with Night at the Bar Wolverine. This incredible Eastman variant. And this Adi Granov Weapon X variant.
I'd be more afraid of running into that in the woods than like a black bear.
Yes. Okay.
All right, so I read Thor issue number 23. So this is the final part of the God of Hammers story arc. So this is it. It all led to this. And let's just say that by the end of this, Mjolnir will never be the same again. Well, it's not going to be the same coming up, at least. You know, they could always change things way down the road. But Mjolnir is not going to be the same by the end of this. You'll have to read it to see what happens. But let me tell you some other things about it. It has a cool flashback with Odin and Thor. This is back when Odin has just created Mjolnir and is giving it to Thor. And he's teaching Thor how to use it.
Huh.
You know, Thor's not very good with it. So he's teaching him how to use it. It's father and son before they're at each other's throats. Like it just seems like they've been forever now. And they have a neat little discussion. It sort of leads into a discussion of what happens, if anything, when gods die. Which, of course, is very relevant to the current story because Odin just died in the previous issue. And so then you go back to the present, and Thor is now wielding the Odin Force. I guess now it is called the Thor Force. I'm not making a joke. I mean, I think whoever wields the Force, that's what it's called. So he is powered up. He is ready for the final battle with the God of Hammers. All that goes down. Some really cool action happens. You can read it for yourself. But I guess I will say one thing. So if Thor's not wielding the hammer, what does he wield? Have you ever seen Thor wield a sword? I'm sure it's happened. I mean, there's so many Thor comics, but I haven't read one like that in a while. You might get to see some of that in here. I'm not saying that it is his new weapon or even that he gets a new weapon. But I will say, in the last panels, you will get a hint of what is going to become of Mjolnir going forward. And it is a change. It is something that is going to stay a change, at least for a while, it seems like. It isn't like this all gets wrapped up, Mjolnir is back to Mjolnir, the end.
Yeah.
That is not how it goes. There is something that I'm waiting to see next issue. Okay, what does this mean? How's it going to be now?
Yeah.
So pretty cool issue. Good wrap up on this God of Hammers arc. And here we got some variants. We have the Libera Carnage Forever variant. And then we have the Infinity Saga variant. That's it.
Cool. Next up, I've got just a quick one to go over. This is Spawn 327. So, I'll get to the variant in just a second, but just a fun issue. This is the new writer. His last name is Rory. That has taken over and doing a great job with this. And there is a pretty surprising death in this of a character that happens right at the end. That's pretty shocking. So this is our A cover, but what a lot of people are talking about is this B cover by McFarlane. If you've seen a McFarlane like that before, you're not wrong. This is the homage cover, but McFarlane homaging himself, this time using Haunt, which Haunt is in this issue quite a bit too, which I really like. I'm missing Haunt in his own title, but check out that cover. We've had people pick up as many as 5 copies, putting that on their pull list to get this one.
We've had a lot of pre-orders for this, so wherever you shop, you want to get in there and get it before they're gone.
Yeah, it's just so good, especially there's certain poses, certain Spider-Man poses that McFarlane can do, and if anybody else tries them, they look really weird, but McFarlane has just the ability to pull them off and make them look awesome, and this is no different. Such a good cover.
McFarlane is a legendary cover artist. He just is. He has proved it back then, and he has proved it many times since.
Yes.
Okay, so back to me.
Yep.
All right, so I'm going to talk about one of my favorite reads, and I read this several weeks ago.
You've talked about this issue for the past 3 weeks or something.
So certain comics we get ahead of time, not as many as I wish we did, but I read this Devil's Reign Moon Knight one shot. It had to have been about a month ago. So I just flipped through it again to remind myself of all the really coolness to it. Okay, so during Devil's Reign, Kingpin, he makes it illegal to, be a mass hero, and he has some arrested, and he arrests Moon Knight's one of the ones arrested. So right off the bat, my mind goes to, how are you going to arrest Moon Knight? Good luck. Like, he beat the Avengers down.
Yeah.
Well, when you read this issue, by the end, you will understand if Moon Knight's in prison, he's got his own plan.
Mm-hmm.
The best way for me to talk about this comic is to compare it to the part of Watchmen where Rorschach is in prison. Obviously, a lot of Moon Knight villains find out he's there. They don't want him to be there, and they're going to try to make his time their hell. But Moon Knight's not going to have it. Mark Spector is tougher than everyone there. This is a brutal issue where Mark Spector just shows how tough he is. And I'm using his regular name because he is maskless during the first half of this.
Mm.
They don't just let him have a mask in prison. So it's kind of cool to see him totally maskless, just talking to people, threatening people, making good on those threats, making even better on the threats than you'd expect. But there is more to it than that. There is a real good plot line here. So this is written by Jed MacKay, who is the writer on Moon Knight and one of my favorite writers at Marvel right now. I will mention real quick the art style. It is manga inspired. It is totally manga inspired. So if that's your thing, you're going to love it. If that's not your thing, the story's still awesome. So I think anyone who is reading Moon Knight should get this one shot. There's no major first appearance. There's no major death. There is some very violent stuff, though. There is sort of like a prison fight club going on. Mark Spector gets pulled into it, so you get those scenes as well. There is Mountain Man Marco, the old Spider-Man villain. He's a big villain in this, too. And there may be a certain reason that Moon Knight wants to meet and fight this guy. And you'll have to see how that goes. But just a really, really cool and awesome one-shot by Jed MacKay of Moon Knight in prison, doing his thing, reminding everybody why he is not to be trifled with.
I imagine he has that, like, almost scary calmness to him when he enters that scenario.
Yeah. So, and I mean, when you cause Moon Knight pain, the dude's like halfway insane. It just makes him stronger.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we just have this one variant. This is the U variant to it. I always like it when I can find a comic that is a perfect one shot. It has its own story, beginning, middle, end, and the whole thing is great to read, and the art holds up. That is this one.
Yeah. And it is tied in with Devil's Reign, but I also feel like you could also just write a one-shot story where Moon Knight's in jail.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is just what he would do in jail.
Devil's Reign is why he got there, supposedly.
Yeah.
But this is its own thing.
Yeah. Which is also another
lightly tied in.
Great thing for a tie-in to be like, it ties in, but it also is itself.
But do your own story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, my next one is... Whoop. Reaching for that Devil's Reign. Nope, this is Star Wars Crimson Reign #3. Check out that cover. We have the character, the Archivist. And who's that little Kermit the Frog behind him? Yoda. So, this is really interesting. I feel like going into this series, I had a certain idea of this was going to be a big event book. And it has been to a certain degree. But each of the issues is kind of focused on different things. So we had the one that was about Ochi and Deathstick working together. And now we have this one about this character, the Archivist, which we've seen pop up here and there. She's kind of been narrating a lot of this story, but we don't know her backstory. Well, this is that backstory, and it is all the things I love. So she is a character who was had an interesting job before the Empire took over, where she wasn't like a Jedi or anything, but she still did like historical research on the Force and mostly on dark side artifacts. And so you've already got me there. I love the whole idea of like the dark side artifacts and the weird stuff and decrepit temples and everything. But when the Empire came and they basically said we want to wipe out all knowledge of the Jedi and Sith and the Force, she's out of a job. Like they don't even want the idea of that job to exist. So she kind of gets pulled and just starts selling trinkets on the side of the road. Well, that is until Kira shows up. This is later, and says, I've heard of you and I have a job for you. I need someone with your specialty. And this is really cool because if you've seen Solo and you know who Kira worked for, that she ended up taking over Dryden Voss, he had a bunch of like Sith artifacts in his little museum. Well, those are now Kira's, and she thinks because her ultimate goal is to take on the Empire because it's ruled by a Sith, and she's is basically like we need to destroy the Sith. She says, "Oh, we need someone with Force abilities on our side, and I think you are smart enough and know this stuff so well. I think you need to go get Yoda." And she's like, "I thought Yoda was dead." And it's like, "No, the Empire never said that Yoda was dead. So I think he's still alive." So this is an issue about the archivist um, following the clues to find out that Yoda's still alive. And since this takes place before Return of the Jedi, he is still alive at this point. Now, there's actually an interesting thing that is brought up that was a lot of people's question from the Book of Boba Fett about Yoda's lightsaber. That big question is basically addressed and solidified with like one sentence in this, which I thought was super cool. Is a thing people were kind of debating, and that was cleared up right away. Um, and we do see how the archivist goes from kind of looking normal to this almost like creature that she becomes later, and that is uh, a big thing to do with uh, things that happen in Empire Strikes Back. So a great issue. We do know the next one is going to be focused on the Knights of Ren, which is also really exciting. But I think this was a great installment and kind of set up for a character that I'm very interested to see what they do with her going forward, because this is a very powerful character now that has a lot of knowledge and kind of has her own little mission going on the side. So that is Crimson Reign #3. We've got some variants, which this variant's really funny because I feel like Book of Boba Fett brought this character in and they're like, that's a super cool character. We need to put them on a variant. And they're like, he's not in anything right now. And they're like, doesn't matter. So we have the LaRocca Black Chrysanthemum variant. He does not appear in this issue, but just throw him on anyways because it's great.
A cool cover.
Cool, very cool cover. And his stuff is just heating up right now. Kind of a new fan favorite character. We have the let's see, this is the like crime syndicate variant. We have the Clayton Crane variant, Dr. Aphra. We have the Raza Knights of Ren variant.
And I think those like all connect.
I think those do too, yeah. Then we have the connecting variant. This is the Anadito variant.
That's the one where the guy's like kind of using the force.
Yeah,
powers.
and I think we know who that is, but it hasn't been completely confirmed. I love this variant. This is the one with Ochi on it, but without his helmet, which is horrifying. And since his eyes got taken out, even scarier. And this one is by Gia Giordano. Then we have a few incentives. We have the 1 in 25 Lopez Sabak variant, where you're selling to our customers for 20. And then we have the 1 in 50 Nakayama variant, We're selling for $90 with Ren of the Knights of Ren.
That's a good cover.
It's a very good cover, and it won't be long till he makes his live action debut. It's just they've been using them so much and have such good designs. And the Knights of Ren are a thing that were mentioned in the movies, but we know Ren got taken care of early on and never made his debut, so be on the lookout for that. I have good feelings about those.
I was reading about the Halcyon Hotel that
Oh my
Disney's
gosh.
opening, and how you can learn how to play sabacc there.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know how to play sabacc. I played Knights of the Republic. That's
Yes.
how I had to get that
I
money.
don't
in
you
there.
got to get money.
Yeah.
I got to get that cool armor, so I got to play some.
It was a while back. I'm rusty, but I used to be pretty good at sabacc. Okay, so I read Detective Comics issue 1056. This is part of the weekly Arkham Tower series. Great cover with this girl who thinks she's Harley. So she's been in the Arkham Tower because she thinks she's Harley Quinn. That's her problem. Now, what's great is
problem.
she's my favorite character in this issue. They finally do some things with her. And what I have to say is perhaps she has a bit of a secret that comes out this issue. That's the most I can say on that. But yeah, my favorite parts are with her and a secret that maybe some of you will have guessed. We'll see. I didn't guess it, but I should have after it came out. So what else is happening in this? So Mayor Nakano is trying to desperately negotiate with the patients now that they have come out from under the control of Psycho Pirate. They're more bloodthirsty than ever. And last issue, the worst villain possible has taken over leadership. I'm still not going to say who because this is a weekly thing.
Yeah.
People may not have read. It's been revealed, of course, his wife is trapped in there. The mayor's wife is in there. And last issue, she was saved by a very unlikely ally, like not necessarily a good guy. And in this issue, they talk, her and this other person who also is in distress, and they kind of have a bit of a bonding moment, a bit of why are you here, why are you here? So that's neat. Nightwing was left in dire straits last issue, and you find out what happens with him. And Huntress continues kicking butt. Meanwhile, the rest of the Bat family, they start to finally make a foothold of getting in this place. This place is like armored up. It went on lockdown to where nobody can get in, but they start making some progress. However, that main villain who took over, he is poised and he is ready for them. So it looks like it's going to be a big battle between the Bat family, this major villain, and possibly all the patients of Arkham Tower next issue. We'll just have to see. But seriously, the girl who thinks she's Harley parts are the best. So I'm glad they put her on the cover for a reason this time. And then there's the backup story that I think Matthew Rosenberg's been writing, House of Gotham, about this kid who grew up through all this Batman stuff. There is more on that. It's a pretty good new part to that, to where now he has his chance to run his own gang. He's kind of always been told what to do by these other gang bosses from the Penguin on. And he also has another face-to-face meeting with Batman after many, many years. So that's what's going on in that story as well. So we have some awesome variants to this. Here is the Lee Bermejo variant. Bermejo, when he puts fire on his covers, it's always awesome. It lights it up in that really cool way that gets done. And then here is the Puppeteer Lee variant for the Batman movie. And lastly, we have a 1 in 25 Fornes variant we're selling to our customers for $20.
Awesome. So next up, I did not get a chance to read this completely, but we do have Red Room returning. So this is the new Red Room #1. Trigger warnings. That's the name of it. I'm not telling you that there's anything coming, but this is definitely the return of Red Room. It is exactly what if you were in it before, you're in it again, but this time with spots of color. Just what this book needed. Color.
Let me guess, lots of red.
Actually, It does a good job of the stuff that's in color is actually the pretty mundane stuff. It's kind of the day to day,
Hmm.
and then the rest of it is still in that kind of sepia black and white. Um, but it's exactly what you remember, and it's back. That's the most I can say about it without going into graphic detail. But a lot of people are going to be excited that this is back. Ed Piskor is a scary genius in this. He has a 1 in 5 variant that we're selling for $15. Um, what you see in the center of that is definitely something that happens in this. Say there's some knotted hair. We have a 1 in 10 rug variant, just so indie, that we are selling to our customers for $25. And then I guess she just couldn't get enough because we have the return of Peach Momoko. This is the 1 in 25 Momoko variant that we are selling for $50.
Oh, I haven't seen that one yet.
Yep.
That's cool. Grim Momoko.
Her alter ego.
Yeah, she did the incentive for that number 1.
Yep.
That was just red hot.
Yep.
For a while. Okay, so I read Women of Marvel #1 one shot in honor of Women's History Month. Marvel has put out this anthology all on female characters, which are done by female writers and artists. So the first thing I'll say is this has a first appearance of a character. Will they be back or not? I'm not sure. But let me tell you about it because we also kind of scour the internet, see what other people are saying. I haven't heard anyone talking about this. But then again, a lot of these people don't read everything like we do. So the character's name is Patty Prue. And she is in a story that is done by Mirka Andolfo.
Oh, cool.
Mirka Andolfo is one of the biggest names working in this book. There's a lot of big names, but she's one of the biggest ones. This character, Patty Prue, is a college-age student who wants to learn magic really badly. And she runs into Scarlet Witch and tries to get her to teach her magic. I'm not going to tell you the whole plot, but what I will say is she does help Scarlet Witch defeat a villain. And by the end of the story, she is doing some magic. So, and also, I guess I should mention her name. That's alliteration. Patty Prue.
That's a Marvelism
That's
right
a
there.
Marvel character right there. So that was one of the longer stories of this anthology as well. So I just want to let you know, if you like to get those obscure first appearances just in case, then that's the reason you may want to pick this up. Past that, it has 10 different stories in it. However, 6 of them have to do with Black Cat. I kid you not, because it's a continuation story. So the name of the story is, what is it called? It's called oh yeah, 4 jobs Felicia hated and 1 she didn't. So it starts
That's
out
fun.
with its own sort of story to begin that,
Mhm.
and then it tells 5 others about 1 job she liked and 4 others she hated. And it's all like kind of throughout the book. Those are really great. I'm a big Black Cat fan, so if you got a lot of Felicia Hardy in the book, I'm happy. Past that, you got a story with Squirrel Girl and Black Widow in the same story. I thought that was pretty cool. They've both been on Avengers in a way. Squirrel Girl's a little more of a West Coast Avenger, or Great Lake Avenger, rather. And then you have a story with Shauna the She-Devil. You have a Jessica Jones story. So a lot of cool stuff going on in Women of Marvel #1. Here are the variants. We have the Sousa variant with Jubilation Lee. You have this brown variant with Shuri. I really like this one a lot. And man, these are all good. The Ashley Witter variant.
So many big books, so many covers this week.
That's why it took us so long to get through them.
Okay, my next one is part 4 of 5 of Devil's Reign. This has been so good. I'm glad that I decided to jump on board the Zdarsky Daredevil train because it is fantastic. Everyone's like, why didn't you read it earlier? And I don't have a good excuse for it other than I didn't. So This has been a really great miniseries event. And in the last one, we saw Kingpin basically force his own strength with the power of Purple Man to remember that Matt Murdock is Daredevil. That was kind of the big thing at the end of the last issue. And now this one begins with basically like, I don't care what any of my people do, just go kill him. And I don't care about property damage or anything. That's your job. And of course, all the other heroes like Moon Knight and some of the others are locked up, and some are on the run. And you get some good kind of interconnectivity with some of the little one shots in the miniseries that have spun off of this, where you get some of the young heroes coming in. Miles is in it, and those Champions characters make an appearance, along with Doc Ock and his weird new Fantastic Four with like the four-armed Hulk and everything. Those are in here. Just a lot of fun stuff that is rewarding if you've been reading everything, but didn't require it. Now, I will say I had to do some research in this issue because there is a character that pops up that is from way back that I did not even know existed, and I believe they were referenced in the recent run of Daredevil that Zdarsky did, but that is Mike Murdock. Do you know Mike Murdock? That is the clone, or it was a secret identity that Matt Murdock had, where he was Mike Murdock, but then something happened, and a spell happened and made Mike a real person.
Yeah, that's.
And then there was two, and they pretended like they were twins, but then I think maybe Scarlet Witch did a spell and made them actual twins. So this is a character I was like, I don't know anything about this, but he plays a big part in this, and I had to do some research about that. So if you're not familiar with that character, do a Google search on Matt Murdock's mysterious twin brother. But it's fun. It's bringing a lot of old stuff from the early runs of Daredevil and everything. And this has a pretty big finale to it that's going to be leading into the final issue of Devil's Reign. And there's been a lot of rumors about things, deaths and everything that are coming out of this. And I'll say this will probably give you a good idea about what is going on with who's going to survive this storyline. So really, really fun issue. I've really been enjoying Devil's Reign. And I only have the one cover for it right now.
Like the red, white, and blue on the cover there.
Yeah.
That they're doing with the blood.
Really cool. Kingpin's very scary in this. Very big.
Okay, so I read Naomi Season 2, Issue number 1. So her first series had 6 issues. This is also going to have 6 issues. It is done by her creator, Brian Michael Bendis. She's got her CW show going on, so there's a lot going on with Naomi. Right now, she's in the Justice League. In fact, a lot of this issue is about that. So this takes her back to her family. She's also going to her therapist, talking with her therapist about being a Justice League member and trying to, figure out about her powers and her past. We also get a lot of scenes where her and her dad are having a lot of struggles between each other because he's trying to train her to use her powers responsibly. But, that's putting a lot of pressure on her. And then later in, there's some secrets possibly revealed about even her father. It's sort of a cliffhanger on that. So if you enjoyed the past Naomi series and you want to know even more about this character, I think that is exactly what Bendis is trying to do in this miniseries. Mm-hmm. And this is the only cover we have of it. So just want to let everybody know Naomi's second season is out today.
Yep, and you can get that whole first season in one collected edition too, so you can jump right into it.
Yep.
Okay, my next one. Briefly talk about, this is Batgirls number 4. This is a really fun book. This is a book about best friends, Stephanie Brown, Cassandra Cain. The hijinks they get into, the dialogue in this is great. It's just a lot of fun. But the big thing about this issue is this is the first appearance of a new, I'm guessing, villain. I mean, with his look and everything. Uh, his name is Spellbinder, and so this is his first appearance, or maybe first cameo. It depends. It's a one-page kind of big splash page reveal, but he does have some lines and everything. He says his own name, so hard to tell anymore what's a cameo and what's a first appearance.
Which way it falls.
But great issue if you're not reading Batgirls. It's a fun, all ages, but still deep book in the Bat family. We also have this International Women's Day variant by Ganichu.
Okay, whoops. That was not the one I was going for. The next one I want to talk about is Little Monsters. This is a new book by Jeff Lemire with art by Dustin Nguyen. Really good art by Dustin Nguyen. The first thing I'll say is this book is black and white on the interiors, except pops of color where they want it. Mm-hmm. So another book sort of like Red Room, except probably otherwise in no way like Red Room in content. This is a post-apocalyptic world. It's our world, you know, skyscrapers, stuff like that. It's all post-apocalyptic. But there are these kids that are just kind of living. They're doing whatever they want to. It's not Lord of the Flies in the way that they've like structured some new, you're our leader and we have to do. It seems like they all kind of leave each other alone except for when they're hanging out. It's just sort of like kids living without adults around, but also not telling each other what to do. So I know every review is going to be like, Lord of the Flies, Lord of the Flies. But to me, I don't get that.
Just the kids aspect of it.
Yeah, just that they're young and there's no oversight. So what happened to the world? We do not know. It is not revealed this issue. This is very much a setup issue where we get to meet each of the characters one by one. Their setting and what they're doing says a lot about them. Like, hey, here's this kid. He's on his own. He's playing guitar. He's writing songs. Well, you're getting to know what they're about by that. Here's this other kid. He's like doing this, you know, very dangerous stuff he shouldn't be doing because no adults are around. Well, now we know he's a thrill seeker. So it's a lot of that. And all you really learn is that they're on their own. Some of them believe they're waiting for some sort of elder. It sounds like an adult to come back. Others don't believe this person's ever coming back. It's been a long time. The major thread of the book appears on the last page, and they don't know this thread exists. I mean, this thread's literally like, I'm this major threat, and they don't know I'm here, but they're about to. So it's very much a setup issue. This is the sort of thing that I think comic creators can do once they have your trust. You know, this isn't like a book by some brand new people. This is Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen, and they're saying, hey, you know our work. You know what we do. Mm-hmm. Trust us. Read this one. You're just going to learn about the characters. We're not going to start at a breakneck speed. We want to build up our characters and build up our world and wow you with the art. And then we'll get into the real threat and the real story. That's what this first issue is. So the best way I can say it, it's world building. It's moving towards whatever the actual plot will be. And I don't mind it a bit. And, you know, if Lemire's writing it, I'm going to read it.
Yeah.
So there you have it. And we got some really great variants for this. Just two. But here is the monkey variant, which I assume this is that scary thing. Just we'll be seeing more of. Could it be vampires are in the world? I get a very vampire feel to this. That or it's like Lord of the Rings elves and they drank too much red Kool-Aid. They coated their mouths. And then here is the Jeff Lemire variant. You can spot his art from like a mile away.
Cool. My next one is Amazing Spider-Man number 92. So this is, I believe, the penultimate issue of the Beyond storyline, and the creature from behind Door Z has been released, It is that horrifying thing on the cover, and I won't give away what it is because I think that was a fun part of the last one. But you learn why it is the way it is, why something that was familiar has changed so much, and that might involve another key Spider-Man character that's really interesting. But none of that matters because there is a return of the flying evil talking sandwiches in this. I'm just going to give it away the biggest spoiler of this issue. The talking sandwiches are back, and I couldn't be happier about that.
And they're mean.
They're mean.
Andy showed me the panels.
Yeah, they are on the attack, and apparently they can also fly. So I hope they get their own one-shot spin-off series, but that was just a lot of fun. So really great issue, and I'll be sad to see this little run end, but I'm excited to see what is next for Spider-Man. We have some variants. This is the Pacelli variant. And we have, man, so many covers she's doing this week. This is the 1 in 25 Peach Momoko variant that we're selling for $35. I haven't counted, but she's done a lot of covers this week.
Yeah.
I see one sitting right there on your stack. So.
Yep. Okay, so and I'll be showing it here with this one. So Strange Academy number 17 is out tomorrow. This is also a penultimate issue for a Marvel book. So Strange Academy is ending with issue 18, but then they're relaunching it this summer with a new issue number 1. This issue, more Gaslamp. He, very big character. Everyone's been grabbing up all his first cover and all that. So a lot more Gaslamp in this one. Doyle Dormammu loses it. That's all I'm going to say. He loses it. Some bad stuff goes down with Doyle. Maybe he's not exactly how we all thought he was. And by the end of the issue, one or possibly more students might be about to quit the academy. This is going to end with a bang. And I think it's not just going to be they relaunch and it's right with that timeline. I think some time's about to pass.
Yeah.
I think this is leading up to something real big for this final issue. So, Mario in our comments mentioned that perhaps the character in Women of Marvel, Patty Prue, that first appearance character who wanted to learn magic from Scarlet Witch, maybe she'll join Strange Academy.
Oh, that's a fun
idea. I know. I mean, with them relaunching, it makes sense they would add some new people. Yeah. So I'm kind of interested in that idea now. So here is the Peach Momoko variant. And then here is the Ryan Stegman variant. Some Gaslamp on there again.
It's big when they bring Ryan Stegman on to do a cover for it. Okay, my next one is one I just got a little bit to say on, but I thought this was really good. This is Sabretooth number 2. I love the stuff that's been going on with Sabretooth, where he's been under Krakoa in jail, but you can't keep him in jail. He's creating his own kind of hell down there that he is the ruler of, and 5 kind of sentient mutants arrive there only to be confronted with this world that Sabretooth has created. More is explained about that, but also what was intended to be a punishment when these mutants were sent down there. Maybe Sabretooth's like, hey, you want to join up and start a thing down here? So really cool issue of Sabretooth. I've really enjoyed this. And we have a variant. This is the Weaver variant.
Okay, so I just want to make everybody aware that Black Panther number 3 second print is out tomorrow. So this issue was red hot. Probably the hottest issue of a comic in ages, because it had the first appearance that was totally unannounced of a character named Tosin. And here he is on the cover. This is his first cover appearance. And you should be able to go in most stores and grab this for cover price, and I would do that. So this character got his own backup story just totally unannounced in Black Panther #3, and he definitely seems like he is going to be a major, major character. There've been tons of news articles on him. Some sites are saying like the next Miles. I would never go that far unless I see more, but I do know that Black Panther #3, I think it's selling for like 40 to $60.
Wow.
Yeah, so second print, first cover appearance of Tozen, and then you can also read his little story at the back end of this yourself if you missed out on that.
I think we both grabbed that same cover.
Oh, we did? Oh.
We both
Back
are
to
so
back.
excited to talk about it. But She-Hulk #1 is getting a second printing this week with that Bartel cover, just with a little bit of color change to her costume. But we sold out of this. Great first issue, great second issue. So if you missed it, definitely check out She-Hulk #1.
Okay. So I read I Am Batman #7. Last issue, Jace went to New York City. That was his first, I'm no longer in Gotham. I am now located in New York City. He's not just visiting, he is staying. And he made a deal with the police. He is technically on their payroll, but like, when I mean technically, he's like taking a payment of $1 just so he is legally sort of working with the police. And what I should say about this is the first appearance of a new character whose name is Man Ray. So all one word, Manray, Man Ray. Hard to tell what he is because he seems to think he wants to work with um, Jace, but he may actually be a villain. It's like you're gonna have to read next issue. He appears right at the end. It might even be considered a cameo, but he speaks. He says his name. He's the last few panels. Is he a good guy? Is he a villain, or is he a vigilante? I'm gonna guess he's a vigilante who goes too far, and because of that, ends up being a villain. That's my guess.
Is he the one I saw a picture of where he's got a very weird weapon?
Yes, he has a very odd weapon.
I get, not that his weapon's anything like it, but kind of a Casey Jones vibe from looking at him.
There you go. And this book is about next Batman is looking into different homicides, and the police, like in this issue, they're like, hey, this high society guy got murdered. Can you look into that? And he's like, no. And they're like, why? And he's like, because I'm already working on these other homicides. Just because this guy's rich doesn't put him to the front of my thing. You guys work on it, and if I get done my other stuff, then I'll look into it. There's an order to things. So this book is also about him and the police, and how are they going to work together, and when can they order him to do things, and when is he going to do his own stuff. But one guess I have is that this Man Ray character, maybe he has killed some of these people, but maybe he's done it Punisher style. I don't know that for sure, so that's not a spoiler. But that's what's going on in I Am Batman #7, now that he is in New York City. And here is the Matina variant for that. See the Statue of Liberty in the background there.
And my last one this week, this is Timeless #1. Yep, that came out many a week ago. This is the third printing. Now, what's special about the third printing? This is a cover by Mark Buckingham, one of the artists from Miracle Man and Fables. But people are really hyping this one up because it is the first cover appearance, we are guessing, of this female Black Panther with long white hair. Now, this character does appear in the interior, so this is not first appearance, but his first cover appearance, if this turns out to be a new character or something. We speculate, is this Storm as Black Panther? Is this Shuri in a new costume? We don't know, but a lot of people are picking this up because it might be first cover appearance. And when we see that character on the interior, it looks like Mary Jane wearing the Spider-Man costume versus a new Black Panther. So very interesting. We'll have to see, because of course this teases a lot of stuff upcoming, but you don't want to miss out if this is a first cover appearance of a new Black Panther character.
Yeah, you're right, because the panel, it has Mary Jane with the Spider-Man mask, and then that character. So sort of saying that certain character archetypes might be taken over, at least for a time, by girls.
Mm-hmm.
And, Mary Jane's the obvious one. This one, nobody knows.
Yeah.
So it could turn out at Storm, could turn out at Shuri, someone we already know, or it could be somebody new.
Yeah.
And that's why people are kind of scrambling to grab it. Okay, so I read Superman Son of Kal-El #9. This is the second part of the Nightwing crossover. And in this, they go up against this group who calls themselves the Rising. They're the ones who killed the Teen Titan last issue. They're killing superhuman people. Now, who's the Rising working for? Who's funding them? You'll find out by the end of this. I don't think it'll surprise anybody. It's a villain who just seems to always be funding all the bad stuff, and it's always a surprise, but it's always that villain. That's the most I'll say there. Still, very cool issue. It's less to do with who's funding them and more to do with why are they doing it. It's really cool to see Jonathan Kent and Nightwing team up. It's neat to see Nightwing sort of remember that Jonathan Kent, although he has these powers and he's as strong as his dad, maybe even stronger, that he's still a kid. Mm-hmm. Some bad stuff goes down this. Somebody dies, and it hurts Jonathan Kent for it to happen. And Nightwing has to deal with that sort of fallout. Not to mention, it seems like this whole thing was a setup to make Jonathan Kent look bad. And it looks like even though this team up is over, this storyline is going to continue. Mm-hmm. This is going to continue in Kal-El. He's got some very bad publicity to deal with, possibly even legal ramifications. Past that, more about the truth is learned. We learned last issue that Dick Grayson is one of the main contributors to them. And in this issue, he talks to Lois. He's trying to get Lois to join.
Wow.
So we'll see if that actually happens. So that's what's going on in Superman Son of Kal-El #9. I don't have the variant for that. I think we either sold out or I didn't grab it. There was so much to get this week. So real quick, I also want people to know that Batman Urban Legends issue 13 is out today. And this it's a minor first appearance, but I have to talk about it. It's the first appearance of a new Super Pets team. We saw, there's the Ace the Bat-Hand story, and Ace, he got away with other pets last time, but now they're actually sort of a team. And it's just a different Super Pets team that has never been assembled of this way. Past that, there's more of the Batman and Zatanna story that's been going on now that Constantine has joined them in that. We got some variants too. This is the Mostert variant, and there's the Super Pets. There they are. Yep, there's a bear on the team.
That's a good team member to have.
Yes, yeah. Yep. And then here is the Marquez variant. And that finally is it.
For those asking us, why don't you do a longer show? Well, there you go.
Oh my goodness. Wow, what a week. Going to be tough on the wallet this week because there's a lot of quality stuff out.
Yeah.
And a lot of good variants.
A lot of new stuff to try out.
Yeah, so that is what our show is about. It's telling you what these are, especially these big weeks where, it's just hard to know all the stuff and what you want to grab. So that is what we're trying to do here. I hope we've done it in a way that both simplifies your job or task of picking out comics, but also doesn't spoil the fun for those of you who want to read them in full.
Right.
So thank you for joining us. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. We are headed towards 1,500 subscribers. That is a goal I have long wanted to hit.
It's higher than I can count.
So yeah, please be one of those. Then you'll be alerted to our videos. We don't do a ton of them, but I mean, we put a lot of care into them, and we do them regular every Tuesday, every single Friday. So we'll be back Friday in the future where we go over open order comics and the latest covers available to see. So until then, I'm going to go get a drink of water, go take a rest. It has been quite a day of a lot of reading and now this. But thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you next time.